Good afternoon to everybody. Welcome to this first session on Destination Climate Neutral, Circular and Digitized Production, Destination 1. We are happy here to have you. Now, this is a question and answer session. You see here a number of colleagues, all those who have actually written the topics, who are ready to answer your questions. But let me start with a few introductory remarks. First, I think I would like look at it on the Slido. We give you the code again. If you would like to send us questions, it's the same code like this morning, no changes. We will not show in this session a film, a video, which we put forward here in this breakout session. Let me start with a few introductory remarks. And then we would like to structure the discussions according to the headings in Destination 1 and go through this topic by topic. Let me start with a few introductory remarks. So this is a destination which an overall budget of more than 765 million euros. This was already presented this morning. It's very rich. Not only it brings together 3 partnerships made in Europe, Processes for Planet and Clean Steel. It also flags several topics of international cooperation and also has many references as regards as social sciences and humanities. If you look into the strategic plan, which was mentioned this morning, then my invitation is to you look also into the introduction of this destination, which highlights the expected impact. The expected impact is relevant for all topics. In each topic, we just explained the expected outcome, but the income is a bit the sphere you can influence. The expected outcome is what you should control, what you should deliver, but the direction of travel is the expected impact. And here we speak about the global leadership in clean and climate neutral industrial value chains in a digitized world. We'll come back to this later on when we have the discussions. And what does this mean for us? It means accelerating the twin green and digital transition in manufacturing, in construction. It means to look for a new green, flexible, and a digital way to build or to produce new goods, to have more attractive jobs, to have a credible pathway to climate neutral and circular and digitized energy intensive industries, new large hubs for circularity, a new concept which we introduced, but also that we look at the substitution and reduction of waste and CO2 emissions. And we're looking for alternative feedstocks to replace fossil-based raw materials and decrease reliance on imports. The call deadline here for all topics is the 23rd of September. We are conscious that the timeline is tight, so we try really to answer the maximum of questions today, where we are hoping to get them here via the chat box. Allow me also to give you one hint. If we are not able to answer all, or if you have still questions after this event, we are planning a training event with national contact points on the 8th and 9th of July. So you could also direct future questions to them, because we will discuss with the national contact points also again the whole call. I would suggest now that as you see the various speakers, I will not introduce you all, you will do it when I give you the floor, that I'm here with Ulrich Schmidt, and we want to structure now the discussions according to the headings. Therefore, could we show now a few slides to structure the discussion? Okay, so the first where we would like to get questions from your side is on the heading Green, Flexible and Advanced Manufacturing. You have here 4 topics, always with the heading Twin Transition. One is on AI-enhanced robotic systems for smart manufacturing and innovation action, zero defect manufacturing towards zero waste, laser-based technologies for green manufacturing, and manufacturing technologies for bio-based materials. So we hope to get questions now. Otherwise, I will combine it with the advanced digital technologies for manufacturing. Are there any questions on these topics? There's one question on the topic as regards laser. So this is for you, Giulia Marzetti. The question is, does this topic focus on laser integration with beams, sensors, and monitoring, or includes R&D on new sensors, high power laser? Giulia, can you give a first indication?
Sure. Thank you for your question. The topic actually focuses on both, because what we're looking into here is to improve laser-based technology in manufacturing for remanufacturing. So we look at high-performance lasers, but also their integration in manufacturing processing. And especially here, we are really looking into the expected outcomes that these laser-based technologies will give. And therefore, I point your attention to the expected outcome of improving the environmental sustainability of industrial production towards first-time right process that you will have with this laser-based technology. And the expected outcome is also to have a 30% lower consumption of resources compared to the state of the art.
Okay. Thank you, Giulia. Are there any other questions? Okay, there's the next question. I'll try to read it out, and then it goes to you, Giulia, again. What are the key expectations for the first topic on AI-enhanced robotic systems for smart manufacturing?
Yes, so the expectations are basically the expected outcome listed in the topic. So, for example, provide safe, highly flexible, reconfigurable, and modular solution, allowing for fast response to repurposing changes in production requirements. And because we are talking about transition, overall, the expected outcomes, they have to go hand in hand with the digital and green transition. We want the expected proposal to demonstrate significant improvement towards a meaningful and seamless social collaboration in terms of human workers. And this is also a core of this topic, to integrate the social science and humanities and the human design of aspect of AI enhanced robotics systems into smart manufacturing.
Thank you, Giulia. You get another question. I will try to read it out here. This concerns the topic 05 to the transition 0105, manufacturing technologies for bio-based materials. Does the 3 added value chains also mean 3 demonstrators?
Yeah, so in topic twin transition 0105, we like to see these new technologies being implemented in 3 different sectors, therefore 3 different value chains. And ideally, yes, you could interpret these as 3 different demonstrators. However, the core of the topic is exactly to demonstrate these manufacturing technologies, new manufacturing technologies for bio-based material in 3 different sectors. So how you'd like to demonstrate this is up to you, but eventually, if we want this in 3 different sectors, then you'll have to potentially have to apply this to 3 different demonstrators or pilot projects.
Okay, thank you for this answer. Are there any other questions on this heading on green manufacturing? I don't see anything. I'm looking to Ulrich. There's another question. Thank you. It concerns the same topic. Does this topic, which refers to bio-based materials, does it also cover bio-based materials produced from the metal powders?
Yeah, that's a very interesting question, actually. We focus our attention on bio-based materials. So if you can actually argue that bio-based materials produced from metal powers are biomaterial, then yes. But eventually we focus on whatever you could actually find in biomaterials, so bioplastics, biopolymer, fiber-based materials, etc.
Thank you, Julia. There's another question coming in, even two. I start with the first one. I read it out. Does thermal spray technology fall into the category of the horizon called the twin transition on zero defect manufacturing?
We actually kept the technology spectrum of this topic quite open. I mean, it could be interpreted as that. However, the focus of the topic is exactly whatever technologies that could help into resulting in zero defect manufacturing and zero waste manufacturing. So if you think that this thermal spray technology does fulfill ultimately the outcome of having a zero waste and zero defect manufacturing, then it does, yes.
Okay, so we are very much expected outcome driven. Okay, very clear, Julia. There are two further questions, but let's take them one by one. The first concern again the topic on zero defect manufacturing. What are the key expectations for zero defect manufacturing combined with digital transformation and high quality manufacturing? It's a bit very open question.
Yeah, it is indeed, and that comes again into our expected outcome. We do want you to demonstrate a significant increase of sustainable production to improve control systems. So the key here would be to really having KPIs on how the technologies that the proposal will eventually develop improve the zero defect manufacturing, therefore reducing the remaking of the products or the reducing waste, ultimately reducing the use of raw materials, etc.
Thank you, Julia. If I am allowed to add, I think those who would like to look for some inspirations, these are topics related to Made in Europe, and also the roadmap presented by Made in Europe for this partnership gives also certainly also insights where our thinking is coming from. But what remains valid is the text in the topic. Yeah. There's another question on laser-based technologies, Julia. That's 03. What do you imply by including edge devices with self-learning algorithm? Which types of edge devices are expected?
Okay, so here we would expect any device that will actually enhance the manufacturing laser productivity, and here indeed there is the other component of self-learning algorithms or AI that would improve. But again, regardless of the technology that you develop in this in your proposal related to the laser, ultimately what is important is the outcome. So the added technologies that you would develop have to serve the expected outcomes of the proposals.
Thank you, Julia. There are two other questions. There's one already on advanced digital technologies. Eva will come back to them on the AI topics. There's one about quantum computing, a technology which can be included in the proposal. So there's not indication to the topic, but maybe some insights, Julia.
Yeah, on the quantum computing. Yes, indeed. As these technologies are advanced technologies, you will see that that additionally quantum technologies do play a role in this. And indeed, even though you may see that it's not always explicitly mentioned in the text, indeed you can use quantum technologies to, for example, into the laser topic. Indeed, that plays a role. However, is not necessarily a requirement because it's not is not mentioned specifically.
Thank you, Julia. There's a more general question on the topic Twin Transition 0103. What is expected from cooperation made in Europe? Because there's a link to photonics in Made in Europe. Julia?
Yeah, and then you can complement in case. Well, here indeed is it's a topic funded under the Made in Europe partnership. Therefore, we would expect to the proposal to connect with the partnership and with the ecosystem that is already in place for them. So the ecosystem of their members and small medium enterprises and university associations and many more. Okay. And also build on the results of the project that they were already in the partnership as well.
Yeah, so when it comes in future to dissemination, looking at the KPIs of the two partnerships, Photonics and Made in Europe, it matters. Okay. Then there are further questions, one on international cooperation, and this concerns the first topic on AI. Is it compulsory? I think an easy question easy to answer, but how to demonstrate collaboration and synergies with existing projects? Julia?
Yes, okay, so international cooperation, and then our colleague Nicholas maybe can expand on whatever I say, but in international cooperation, no, it's not compulsory. It is suggested and is encouraged, let's say, and specifically with the countries that are mentioned, but no other country. This does not preclude the fact that you can, of course, submit your proposal without international cooperation, or you can submit your proposal with other countries that are not mentioned. And yeah, the second part of the question was how to build those results.
Yeah, because how to demonstrate collaboration and synergies with existing projects.
Yes, indeed. Well, clustering of project can be one. Indeed, and also we're looking to build upon the results both within Europe and if choosing international cooperation without Europe. So building on the results that are already available by projects that have been funded through Horizon 2020, for example, or any other cooperation agreements.
Thank you, Julia. I'm handing quickly over to Nicholas because there are questions on international cooperation in general, but in particular as regards US and Canada. What about funding for US and Canada where partnerships with them are recommended?
Yes, thank you, Jürgen. It is, as Julia said, it's not compulsory, but as we mentioned this morning in the plenary sessions, you should ask yourself, even if you have all the expertise you need, are there any other benefits in including international partners? Because you may have better access to markets, for example. So all that needs to be considered, but it's not compulsory. And as for the US and Canada, where it is specifically mentioned, yes, they obviously take an interest in manufacturing. They're like-minded countries. So again, there could be benefits, but it's not compulsory.
Good, thank you, Nicholas. Let's go then now to the individual topics. There's one on the AI topic and another one on laser. Let me start with the AI topic. The question reads as follows. It's a link to the wording, and the topic: demonstrate results in at least 3 large-scale industrial use cases. What's the meaning of large scale? Large size, large number of actors?
Yes. Ideally, we'll have this 3 large-scale demonstrator to have indeed large size and large number of actors. Let's say that we'd like to, because it's in an innovation action, we'd like to move away from lab size or pilot lines. So something a bit bigger, and that's why we put large size.
Okay. Thank you, Julia. Another question, we are back to the call on laser-based technologies. So for the laser call mainly, are there any expectations on impact quantification? Not qualification, but quantification. Is it expected to be defined within the proposal based on the demonstrators? Julia, and if Nicholas wants to come in, yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, okay. In the expected outcome, we have the quantification of first-time right process with 30% lower consumption of resources compared to state-of-the-art. That's for sure quantification that we do expect in the proposal. And indeed, in the proposal, whenever you are arguing that your laser-based technology is better than the state-of-the-art, then we would expect a quantification there, and also how this relates to the KPIs, as Jürgen has mentioned, of the Midi-Europe partnership and the photonics partnership.
Thank you, Julia. There are two last questions, and then we move to the next heading. The first concern the topic 0105 about bio-based materials. Has recyclability of bio-based materials been shown in real trial circulars, or can it only be addressed as the theoretical case business model?
No, this should be addressed as real trial cycles. And as well, when you do your state-of-the-art, we would expect that this comes from real trials and cycles and not from theoretical case and business models.
Okay, good. Thank you, Julia. And then there's a broader question. I just read it out. And if Nicholas wants to come in as well, would you consider research related to the social aspects of the problems? Would it imply developing policy approaches to increase sustainability of value chains? Must say that's a bit a broader question. It's not very topic specific. Nicholas, you would like to add anything in addition to what you said this morning? And Julia?
Yes, if I thank you, Jürgen. Indeed, this morning we pointed out how including social sciences and humanities can enhance the impact. That is also the case here. Now, of course, you will not be expected to deal in a project like this with a broad-ranging question like policy. You would be expected, with the help of experts in the field, to make some relevant contributions. Of course, what you do may be useful as input to policy, but you are not in a research or innovation project. You are not expected to support policy directly.
Thank you, Nicholas, for the very clear answer. I suggest, Ulrich, you show already the slide on advanced digital technologies for manufacturing. Whilst you do this, we have still one question on green manufacturing. I just read it out, Julia. So your last question you're getting this afternoon. It's about the first topic on 0101, AI and robotics applied to pharma or food processes. Could it be considered to be in the scope of this topic?
Yes, I mean, pharmaceutical and food processing industries, especially the food processing industries, is indeed a manufacturing sector. Therefore, yes, it can be included. Okay,
thank you, Julia. So, Ulrich, could you briefly go back to our general slides? I think then I close now the session on green manufacturing. And as I said, if the interested parties have still questions, they can also go to the national contact points or come later on to us. We're always available to ask questions. Okay, now the next heading is Advanced Digital Technologies for Manufacturing. We have Yves Pandavane with us, colleague from DG Connect, who is the expert on these topics. The first one is about 0107, Artificial Intelligence for Sustainable Agile Manufacturing. And the other one is 0108, Data-Driven Distributed Industrial Environments. And there have been already plenty of questions. I take them one by one, Yves. Yeah, I think there was already a previous one, which I could not cover. This is, let me see, I scroll up. Yes, are you looking for a specific tool set as a business case, or can there be a set of separate tools? This concerns the topic 07. This was already raised in the previous session. Yves, over to you.
Yes, thank you, Jürgen. Good afternoon, everyone. just to come back to specifically this one, so what we are really looking is to a number of AI tools and AI tool sets, and they have to be shown to be economically viable in the industrial world. That is, we are here talking of innovation actions, and therefore what we want is that they are realistic and they have a demonstrable economic return. So that's really the things that needs to be put in mind. Now, the business case does not really relate only to a specific tool set. It's more to the overall project, in the sense that you involve AI tool set in a manufacturing project, and the whole has to make sense. The whole has really to be able to be business driven.
Okay, thank you, Yves. I have a further question for the same topic, 07. What reduced resources for training of AI algorithm are addressed? Data resources or computing resources, edge computing? Yves.
Yes, thank you. So here, when we say reduce resources, what we mean is the following: is you know that sometimes when you have a low volume series that needs to be manufactured, there will be little amount of data that will be able to be used in order to train a specific AI engine, in order to build the inference engine. And therefore, primarily we meant a low amount of data and a shorter time series, for example, in order to detect any deviation of the machine calibration in the manufacturing. But we also mean, in fact, the reduced resources in terms of computing, in the sense that we are going to have a number of computing devices attached to the machine who themselves are constrained. So that can be real memory instead of a virtual memory. That can be 16-bit devices instead of a 32 or 64-bit. So you see, we also mean here the reduction in computing resources. And the third point is, when we mention reduced resources, we also mean the following: is the workers have not to invest a lot of their time and a lot in building an expertise in order to use these AI devices. So we also mean here that they need to be user-friendly with an interface which does not require the workers to have a PhD in order to be able to use these devices. It remains, however, to the proposers, when they write their proposal, to specify the focus on the resource reduction that they want to tackle.
Okay. We have now 4 questions on the next topic, 08, data-driven distributed industrial environments. Let's then take them one by one, Yves, yeah? Can we also address both of the objectives of the call, targeting 5G and standardization?
Yes, in 0108, we have 2 technology areas. One is really related to the use of industrial data and the way data is shared and reused along the supply chain. That's one. And the second is about the use of 5G as a connectivity technology, but also as a way to harmonize the production systems that have been deployed on the manufacturing side. So here, these are the 2 technology areas that we are mentioning. Now, for each one of those 2, the people who are applying will also have to demonstrate how they can build on existing standards or contribute to standardization. So I would not consider that 5G and standardization are 2 separate topics. On the contrary, 5G is one of the center of gravity, and the contribution to standard and to standardization is an additional part of the proposal which needs to be demonstrated.
Okay. The next question is actually closely related to your answer and this question. Could it be eligible to have a proposal on the technological line of standards for data, products, and processes without including 5G technology?
Yes, well, indeed, that is indeed possible. We have built the call text specifically with two technology areas for data-driven industrial environment. What we aim here is really to find what is the right balance between the storage and the management of the data, be it at the cloud, in the central cloud, or be it at the edge of the industrial network. And therefore, if you would like to think much more in terms of edge cloud computing, that is a possibility which is offered by the first focus, development of technologies and definition, standards for data, products, and so on, that can be agreed, commonly used by many industrial actors. So that here I'm referring to the text in the work program. And you don't need to specifically use 5G for this. That is, you can rely on other connectivity standards. If I'm thinking in terms of the manufacturing on the shop floor, it could be OPC, OPC UA. And then you can go up in the software stack and in the network stack without having to put in place 5G. I would, however, recommend to have some consideration of why you think that the connectivity standards that are being used for the first topic would be the one to be used, rather than thinking in terms of the natural evolution towards 5G.
Okay, thank you, Yves. I take the next two questions. The first is very broad. What does resilience means in the industry environment? And I take the next one, which is now specifically linked to the topic 08. Would it be relevant to address industries environments that are still less digitized and include that digitization as part of a possible project?
Yes. So what we mean by resilience is the possibility for a manufacturing site to still operate under shocks. So it means here the possibility either from the technology point of view to continue its operation and to have a multiple ways of performing the same manufacturing functions. So that is one that we are thinking of. And another one, which is much more looking at the supply chain, is how sharing of data along the supply chain can actually help a specific manufacturer to still be able to continue to produce. Meaning the following is that the data that you acquire can enable you to change in virtually no time your sourcing strategy, for example. That would be one. So these are the type of resilience that we are thinking of. They are at different levels.
Okay.
And then the other question was whether we should address more the brownfield type of research and have a retrofit. And actually, why not? Because typically we would have a number of those cases in industry where the companies are not yet up to the level of the model factories. And therefore, indeed, the retro engineering of digital into an existing site is interesting to explore, but not to be forgotten that this is an innovation action, in the sense that the innovative part needs to be demonstrated at the end of the day.
Okay, thanks, very clear. Many thanks, Yves. Next question related to the same topic. Can you please clarify how the two technology areas will be funded? Proposals have to focus on one, or can they address both?
So here I would really refer to the following. First of all, they have to target and they have to describe in their proposal which is the center of gravity that of the technology area that they would like to focus. If it's either more on the data on the data digital value chain across different industry players, or it's the uptake of 5G technologies. So this center of gravity needs to be already mentioned in the proposal. And then what we are going to do, and here I refer to the general Annex F, which says the following, that we will ensure a balanced portfolio in order to cover both technology areas. We really want to have projects in both, which means the following is we will not take only the projects in the ranking order and then maybe end up with only one technology area, because one technology area is most represented with the best score. We will actually try to cover both technology areas, which means that we might here do two ranking lists, of which we will choose the first ones of both.
Thank you, Yves. Well, let's turn to the other topic on artificial intelligence for sustainable agile manufacturing. Well, that's a question related to the membership in a possible consortium. Does at least one partner in a consortium have to be involved in the European partnership? Or does an LOI, for instance, suffice? Yeah, okay, a classical one. Yves? Now he's frozen.
Hello?
Yeah.
Okay. I just saw a very bizarre reboot on my PC. So this is more of a generic question about the participation of companies in our project who have to be in a partnership. And it is not necessary to be a member of a partnership to actually tender or reply to a call for proposals. So the same applies also here for these for this objective on artificial intelligence.
Okay, thank you. Then let's move to a question on a bit more general question. Is there any chance to implement a standardized EU regulation for applying a life cycle method for the future goods and services? That's a very general question, I must say. Nicolas or Yves, if you can add anything here.
I must say I'm a bit confused by
for me it's also not very clear. Okay, maybe we park it for the time being. I'm going to the next one, which concerns the topic 08. Can you please clarify how the two technology areas will be funded? I think that was a reference to Annex F already.
Correct. Yes, that was Annex F, if I understand well. Yes.
Okay, because that question we have already. Okay, are there any other questions on this heading, advanced digital technologies for manufacturing? These have been two specific topics: artificial intelligence for sustainable agile manufacturing, data-driven distributed industrial environments. There are general questions. Okay, there are questions now. What is meant by social innovation spin-off actions? We will come back to them when we speak about circularity hubs. That's not for now. Are there any other questions on the partnership made in Europe? Because we would actually leave their topics now. If not, I would suggest that we go back to our general slide and we start the discussion on the topics related to the next heading. Many thanks, Yves, for sharing all your insights. Pleasure. Okay, many thanks. There are no other. There's one question. Is it possible to have partners from South Korea? Maybe Julia, Yves, if you can take this question for Made in Europe. And Nicolas, is it possible to have partners from South Korea?
Yes, indeed. Even when it's not specifically mentioned, you can have partners from third countries. And we can also point out the conditions for that. South Korea is a high-income country, and therefore you cannot expect union funding in this case. But of course, you can have a partner.
Yeah. Okay. So a clear yes, whether it's mentioned or not. Okay. I'm looking here. Okay, I get here very general questions now. I leave them currently a bit, says what, maybe, okay, I take that one here. That's for you, Nicholas. How universities of applied science can enhance their success rate in getting the funding? Do they have less chance than basic research universities? No. Nicholas, can you briefly answer this?
Yes,
and then I would.
It's a question I like. Absolutely not. They have exactly the same chance. After all, in a cluster like this that is specifically about impact in industry, universities of applied sciences ought to have an advantage because, of course, they tend to cooperate more with industry. That said, there is no prejudice for or against, and they are very welcome to participate. In our experience, we have not seen any instances where they have been discriminated against in proposals.
Okay, many thanks. There are now one question still on 07 as regards artificial intelligence. If you can take this, do you expect discrete and process manufacturers use cases on the same proposal or focus proposals in the different industries?
Yes, we actually target both manufacturing and process industry with AI. Now, in the proposal itself, the thing is to look at the following: is we want to see an entire life cycle of product and services from design to manufacturing. If I take a pencil will be made out of wood, it will be made out of carbon, and there will be paint on it. So we have discrete manufacturing and we have process industry alike. But it makes sense for the entire life cycle. And therefore, that's really the kind of the business case and the use cases that the applicants will choose, which will make the difference. Whether this is a use case which makes sense to the experts evaluating, assessing the proposal or not. So that is to say, that's really the kind of thinking that we have here behind addressing the two type of industry, because sometimes the boundary between the two is not so actually it's actually diffused.
Thank you, Yves. I see there's still questions coming in for you, Julia, too. I take those, and then I would like to move to the next heading, a new way to build. Yeah. So, Julia, the first question is linked to the other AI topic. Must the 3 industrial use cases come from different industries or 3 different processes from one industry? Okay. All, even very specific, all for metal casting. And the other one is related to the topic 02, which is about zero defect manufacturing. Process needed with many defects, large waste, or to have a process that produces little waste. Waste can only be reduced by decreasing the defects. Could you take these 2 questions?
Sure. So regarding topic to transition 0101, yes, ideally we'll have to have 3 different processes from 3 different industries. This is because we'd like to maximize the impact of these AI enhanced robotic system in smart manufacturing and see how these technologies can actually be widely applicable to different sectors and translate those technologies into different industry sectors. And regarding the twin transition 0102, we'd like to, here the focus is to develop zero defect manufacturing towards zero waste. So yes, of course, if you take as a baseline an industry that already produces little waste, that'll probably be easier to quantify that you can actually achieve zero defect manufacturing. However, here we are interested in zero defect manufacturing. So like how you can decrease the effect of the remanufacturing, etc. And here it goes again on KPIs and percentages, like by how much these new technologies that you develop can actually reduce the defect from the baseline you have created.
Okay, thank you, Julia. Then I close now the session on advanced and digital manufacturing for today. Further questions can go to the NCPs, but also to us. And many thanks in particular to Yves and Julia. I would like now to move to the next heading, which is a new way to build, accelerating disruptive change in construction. Ulrich, could you show the next slide? We have to move the slide. Yeah, there are 3 topics. One is digital permits and compliance checks for buildings and infrastructures and innovation action. The next one is automated tools for the valorization of construction waste, ARIA. And the third one is again an innovation and is ARIA, breakthrough technology supporting technology sovereignty in construction. And we have with us here Philip Mosley and Dominique Blanchon. So let me look into the box. The first one is, can you please clarify, and this is for you, Philip, on digital permits, can you clarify how you interpret human-aided design and compliance?
Well, I think where, I mean, it would be up to the proposer to put forward how they interpret human-aided design and compliance, and kind of persuade the evaluators who look at these proposals that they've addressed it. I think, you know, that we're not sort of prescribing a particular way of achieving that.
Okay. I think so. What counts is the text and the topic, not further examples. Okay, very clear answer. I think then I look, are there further questions on this a new way to build? I still see questions trickling in on manufacturing, one on 0101. This is, maybe Julia, if you can still take this, and I'll wait whether further questions come in on a new way to build. It is regarding open access pilots. It's the first topic. Is the call referring to specific existing structures on open access pilots? It concerns AI topics.
Yeah, not specifically. However, as this is a topic under the 2 partnership, AI, data and robotics, and within your partnership, we would encourage that you do find synergies within those partnership and eventually into open access pilots that are already there within these communities.
Okay, thanks, Julia. Now we start really focusing on a new way to build. The first question concerns the topic on the digital permits. So it's for you, Philip. Collaboration is encouraged, including those funded under this call. Is it advised to mention other projects submitted planning collaboration if both are funded?
No, I mean, you couldn't possibly know when you submit a proposal whether you know, other proposals will be funded as well, and which they'll be. So it's simply an encouragement for projects funded to collaborate with similar initiatives and address that bullet on you know, contributing to you know, the collaboration across the industry.
Okay, so work packages on collaboration are important, but not going into further details. Thanks, Philip. Then there is a question on another topic, which is automated tools for the valorization of construction waste. Maybe Dominique, you would like to take that one, because the question is about 4 implementation sites across different European countries. What does this mean? Does it mean with highly different technology solutions or partially replicated? Dominique?
Well, I was not responsible for the writing of this topic, so I can only say what's written in the topic. So I think that the topic said exactly, demonstrate all developed solution, reutilization, recycling, transformation, it at least 4 implementation sites in different European countries, considering material recovery, transformation, and utilization. So I think it could be interpreted as also as replication, but this replication has to be sufficiently different than from one another to make this these different demonstrations significative, because if it's exactly the same, it doesn't bring any added value.
Okay. So, Dominic, what counts as sense of wording? It's 4 implementation sites across different European countries. And we see other things like material recovery, transformation, utilization. I think we have no further questions on construction activities. So if anybody is listening in, please come back to us now, because I've nothing else received so far. Okay, then there's a question on 014, what are exactly the INCO countries, but that's to the link to the next section. Any other question on the construction topics, the 3 topics I just mentioned? If not, I suggest we move on and we go actually to the next heading, and that's a group called Hubs for Circularity, a stepping stone towards climate neutrality and circularity in industry. And thanks a lot, Philip and Dominic, for your help. So the first topic concerns, I think, an innovation area deploying industrial urban symbiosis solutions for the utilization of energy, water, industrial waste, and byproducts at regional scale. It's linked to a partnership process for Planet. And the other one is Hubs for Circularity, European Community of Practice, setting up a new platform via CSA. And now there's one question. We have, what about the international cooperation countries? And this concerns the topic of 14. What are exactly the INCO countries? Dominic, or also Nicolas. Dominic, and afterwards Nicolas. You're muted, Nicolas. Dominic, you're muted.
Okay, it's as all the other previously addressed topics for the INCO. It's no particularities for this topic. So I refer to Nicolas if he has to add something, but for me, all has been described before.
Nicolas?
That's absolutely right. There is no particularity for that topic. There is a general annex that pertains to all work programs on international cooperation. The only difference amongst international cooperation countries is that some can participate with union funding, the low and middle income countries, while the others cannot automatically receive union funding, but otherwise they're all eligible, with some exceptions, of course, which do not apply in this destination.
Okay, thank you. We have now questions on circularity. I take them now one by one. There's also one question, Dominic, going back to the construction topics. But the first one, okay, how many projects will be funded in Horizon, in this Horizon called Twin Transition 0114, the RIAS? Dominic?
Yes, the advised budget is between 8 to 10 million. So you could expect that we will fund 3 projects. Of course, it's according to the quality of the proposals and the budget of each of them. So, yeah.
Okay, thank you. So 3 projects are possible, but depending on the outcome of the evaluations. Ulrich, if there are other questions on circularity, please put them forward. I go back. A question on Made in Europe. Yeah, there's a question on a new way to build. could you please elaborate a bit more how we can demonstrate the reduction of dependency? And this concerns the topic 12, which is about breakthrough technology supporting technology sovereignty and construction.
Yes. So reducing the dependencies by the saving material and reduction of waste due to a more efficient use of construction materials. So that's one thing. And yes, also with some head to maybe recycle the material in excess that are frequent on construction sites. So that's the two options I see immediately. With,
Thank you, Dominic. I will then go back to the hubs for circularity. There's a larger question, more horizontal. Should the synergies be created at regional level, but then show potential replication potential, or should it be more than a case study? So should we have a more general proposal or a case study?
So the idea here is really to demonstrate a concept of urban industrial symbiosis. Of course, that shouldn't. This will be sufficiently imperative that it should be only realized in one site, but exploring the potential and the possible application in other regions or area, and with digital simulation of what it could be in these other areas is requested.
Thank you. Nicholas, maybe you want to add? We can also point to the Horizon program guide just published. Nicholas, you want to add? But this is more general, right?
It is more general, indeed. But there is a program guide that covers issues like the international cooperation we discussed, also social sciences and humanities and so on. And we can include a link in all slides.
Yeah, and you already put the link here also into the chat box. Thanks for this, so that interested experts can look into this straight away. Are there any other questions on this heading, hubs for circularity?
Jürgen, excuse me, but I saw a question about this spin-off action on social.
Yeah, social innovation and spin-offs. Yes, you're
yes.
right, Dominic. Thanks for reminding me. Very good. I'm just looking at it. Yeah, what is meant by social innovation spin-off actions? And this concerns, I think, one of the two topics. Is it referring to a circular flows for solid waste? Yeah, what is meant by social innovation spin-off actions? And what
this
about
was
the
for
reference
14.
And what is a reference to circular flows for solid waste and urban environment? So these are two questions. What is meant by social innovation spin-off actions?
So what we mean by spin-off action is something a little more concrete and a lot more concrete than only an action plan. So we need some concrete there and maybe some really achievement on the social innovation aspects, which are, by the way, described further into the topic. So it's really on what's the communication, the contact with the citizen and with all the stakeholders involved in such projects, and also about the close collaboration with education bodies and with also other actors like waste management bodies, public bodies, etc.
Thank you. Are there any other questions on circularity hubs? I'm looking also to my colleague Ulrich Schmidt. There are no new questions on circularity hubs. Okay, then I close this and move actually to the next heading. Ulrich, if you can show the slides so that I can briefly introduce the heading Enabling Circularity of Resources in the Process Industries, including waste and CO2 and CO. We have here 4 topics. The first one is an innovation action which concerns plastic waste as a circular carbon feedstock for industry. This concerns the partnership process for planet. The next one concerns carbon direct avoidance in steel, electricity and hydrogen-based metallurgy. This is an innovation action, clean steel partnership. We have then improvement of the yield of the iron and steel making. That's again the clean steel partnership. And we have here also reducing the environment footprint, improving circularity in extractive and process value chains, which is outside any partnership. And for this, I have Carmine Marzano and also Dimos Paraskevas. So, are there any questions? Or all clear? If there are no questions, it's all clear. It's good. Then we are reassured. Ulrich, any questions? No questions yet. Okay, let's wait a few seconds. I hope there's no football match going on, that people are looking in parallel. Because now we are available. Maybe okay, since we have 2 or 3 minutes, Carmen and Demos, do you want to say a bit more on the topics or not? Since we are sitting there, maybe Carmen, a few words.
If you, yes, if I may, thank you, Jürgen. And as there are no questions for the moment, maybe it's worth saying a few words specifically concerning the topic 117, which is plastic waste as a circular carbon feedstock for industry. As you probably have all seen, this is an innovation action. So we are working at TRLs which are relatively high and, let's say, oriented towards the commercial deployment of the technology. So the idea is to start around TRL 5 and end up somewhere at TRL 7. So already with the piloting on demonstration at a significant scale for the specific technologies addressed. So as you have seen, let's say the leitmotif of this topic is strongly related to the issues of establishing a circular economy, as well as the issue of the energy transition. Therefore, we are looking for concepts, specifically in this case, able to process a wide variety of plastic and potentially other waste. Of course, the idea is that these waste streams are available in large amount, and also the idea is to avoid landfill. So, of course, it would be interesting to have in the proposal technologies which can address streams which are currently not, let's say, valorized sufficiently and end up in landfill. The idea is, of course, to integrate such technologies in downstream industries, so to process these waste streams to obtain process streams of industrial interest, so that can then be integrated in downstream industries. For example, olefins, hydrogen, syngas for the production of further intermediates or products of interest. As I mentioned, very, very important is the aspect related to the energy transition. And therefore, we are looking for processes which are able to utilize renewable energy and cope with the potential fluctuation in a renewable energy-based energy system, which is, for example, the fluctuation in the energy supply. And we know that this is a major issue often in the process industries, as this plant usually like to work in steady states, and this may not be possible in a future energy system. In more quantitative terms, the idea is that the proposal should be able to demonstrate that the concept they are putting forward is able to decrease a 60% in greenhouse gas emissions in the overall life cycle compared to existing processing for plastic recycling or a relevant benchmark. And as it was already stated by some of my colleagues, these are maybe a few words, but very, very important benchmarks. So it is important that the proposal will indicate against what you are benchmarking your concept to provide, specific gains, which should be in line with the expected outcomes. And this should be complemented by relevant indicators and metrics to really be able to compare and to make sure that what you are stating in the proposal, it is credible. Let's say it's not enough to say that you will achieve a certain outcomes. It is very, very important that you provide an idea of why and how you will get there, supported possibly by some, references or calculation, because this is something usually experts look for quite closely. Probably now we may have questions, so I stop.
Yeah, thanks, Carmine. No, very clear explanations. Dimos, you want to add something on clean steel? And then I have a question actually on Circularity Hub, still for you, Dominic. Dimos, anything to add on clean steel?
So, thank you, Jürgen. Good afternoon all. So the two clean steel topics here is the carbon direct avoidance steel by electricity and hydrogen-based metallurgy is a part of the clean steel partnership. Both topics are innovation actions, so the focus is on higher DRL. In particular, in the Twin Transition 01-18 topic is expected. The activities are expected to start from DRL 5 and reach and achieve a DRL 8 at the end of the project. By the end of the project. Expected outcomes for the 18 topic, so for the carbon direct avoidance steel. So project's outcome will are expected to enable achieving the impacts of the destination by improving energy efficiency in raw materials value chains, and as well as demonstration of technologies in steel sector leading to a reduction of CO2 emissions and improve energy and resource efficiency, considering also intermittency and the possibility to offer demand response flexibility and increase utilization of renewable sources in metallurgical processes to substitute fossil fuels, and also to enable steel production through carbon direct avoidance technologies at a demonstration scale. For this topic, relevant indicators and metrics as well as baseline values should be clearly stated in the proposal. And for the Twin Transition 01-19 topic, improvement of the yield production of the iron and steel making. It's also innovation action. In this topic, the activities are expected to start at DRL 6 and achieve DRL 8 by the end of the project. There are a number of expected outcomes. Perhaps I will not specify now, they are in the work program, but just a few points on the scope. So focuses on selection and integration of best available and applicable technologies to reduce impurities in post-consumer scrap before melting, together with scrap yard management. Development and deployment and use of smart sensor and dedicated data analytics, realization of demonstration plant at the relevant industrial scales, development of and application of highly efficient technologies for recovering metals, as well as mineral fractions from steel residues, including those coming from the hydrogen-based metallurgy. And last but not least, full byproduct testing and evaluation to have them covered by standards like a SEN workshop agreement or by a national technical agreement.
Okay, thank you. I'm going now quickly back to circularity. Perhaps Dominic, there's still a question, and then for you, Demos, there's one question on carbon direct avoidance. But Dominic, your question is still to the circularity apps and the list of expected outcomes. Should they all be reached or not? Dominic.
Clearly, yes, as far as possible.
Okay, so the answer is yes for this. Good. Before I move now to the topics 21, there's one question for you, Demos. To what extent is it open to this topic 18, carbon direct avoidance? To what extent is it open to activities on other metals if the challenges and solutions are relevant for steel? Combining steel and other metals.
Yes, I think the combination of steel with other metals is not excluded by the topic proposal, and the proposals. It's up to the applicants the proposal to demonstrate and also convince the experts, the independent experts, and on how well address and fits the criteria of the topic. But I think for this question, combining steel with other metals, it is not excluded, and is actually
okay. Thank you, Demos. Very clear. Now, if there are no other questions on this heading, the circularity of resources, I go straight to many questions actually as regards integration of renewables and electrification process industries. That's the last heading actually here. So a little warning to our constituencies, there are questions we might close much earlier. Apparently our text is very clear. So just to start there, we have two topics. One is on design and optimization of energy flexible industrial processes, innovation action. And another one is the adjustment of steel processes, steel process production to prepare for the transition towards climate neutrality, also innovation action. And we have here Carmen and Demos with us. So there are many questions on this. Let me start with the first one. Let's take them one by one. It's a topic 21. Is this limited to process industries, or can it include other industrial sectors like machine building? Carmen, do you want to take this question?
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Very interesting questions. I think generally the partnership processes per planet will follow the footstep of Spire. So it is by nature very strongly cross-sectorially oriented. Of course, the idea is to address the process industries in the sense that we know, and it is has been acknowledged as one of the objectives of the Green Deal, that energy intensive industries and process industry belong to them, are very heavy on on environmental impact, utilization of resources, and of course emissions. So therefore, certainly it is important to go and address some of these heavy sectors. Saying that, of course, cross-sectoriality, I think in that sense, is always welcome, and certainly the possibility, as this specific topic looks at, for example, of integrating better these industries into the energy system, and make them really active actors in this system, may well fit the possibility to do this at cross-sectorial level. So by interacting with other sectors, this could probably enhance the effectiveness, efficiency, and flexibility of the system. And therefore, in that sense, I don't think that the topic in itself is confined to the process industry sector, but I think it is quite clear that, of course, the focus should, the process industry should certainly be in the focus of the proposal. To say it in, let's say, in lay language, I would say that maybe a proposal that only addresses other industries would, of course, still be in the focus if it can address the outcomes, but probably is not in the main, is not addressing the main aspects of the Processes for Planet partnership, and therefore probably not necessarily the main aspects of the topic itself.
Thank you. Let's move then to the next question, which concerns the same topic, number 21. And this concerns the wording valorization of excess streams into the energy system. Please give examples for the excess streams and what it means.
I think that's for me again. Yes,
Yeah.
I haven't written the topic personally, but I believe that the idea behind this statement is related to the valorization of stream which contains still some energy which is somewhat not valorized as much as it can be. And I think this is also another very important aspect which we have seen all along the work on the process industries, and why we believe that, for example, connecting different sectors can enhance the overall efficiency of the system, both in terms of energy and resources. Because we understand that, for example, sometimes some spent stream of a certain plant, which works, for example, at very high temperatures, maybe a stream at 200 degrees of steam, or maybe an effluent, is not necessarily usable in that specific process, and is therefore, is wasted. But if this is done maybe in symbiosis with other sector, other plant, which can really valorize this, as for them maybe, the stream at the same temperature is still very valuable for the kind of operations they do at much lower temperatures, and this certainly leads to a much better valorization of these streams, and of course a significant enhancement on the energy efficiency of the overall system, since, for example, at cross-sectorial but also cross-process or cross-plant level, for example.
Carmine,
and I hope this answered the question.
Yeah, many thanks, Carmine. If there's still one question on 07, I will come back to you. If I may go just this topic 21, because there are further questions, and the next one actually concerns the food beverage industries. Are they considered as an energy-intensive industry in this topic? Carmine, you want to take it?
I would say, as specifically, we have not necessarily always worked with very downstream industry. So I think food and beverage industries is in itself quite a broad sectors. Saying that, I don't think it is one of the main sectors included in the Processes for Planet initiative. So of course, it is a sector which could be included in proposals, as I already mentioned, the strong cross-sectoriality of this partnership. But of course, certainly we are looking at sectors which are very, very heavy on energy and resource utilization. And to give you an example, one of the sectors is included in the partnership is the steel sector, and the steel sector alone accounts between 4 and 7% of the greenhouse gas emission at global level. And I think the same can be said for sectors such as cement, which are around probably 3%, if I'm not mistaken, and heavy chemicals productions, which is also a significant amount. Therefore, I think in itself, maybe alone would not be in the strong focus of the partnership, but of course, in a cross-sectorial proposal could potentially, be also included.
Okay, so on its own, no, but with other sectors, maybe yes. Okay, thanks, Carmine. There are further questions still, and this concerns to which extent is the connection between industries and the energy grid required in the demonstrators. That brings us, this is also linked to topic number 21.
Thanks a lot. This is a very, very interesting question, and
Indeed,
I think certainly the idea, as Dominique already said, is to try and address the expected outcomes at the scope of the proposal as much as possible. And please also consider that the race is relative in a sense. We understand that not all proposal will address everything, because it might not be possible for the specific concepts they are addressing. But of course, please consider that there will be a large number of proposals probably submitted under your same topic. So of course, then the expert panel will make their own thorough assessment and consideration to see which proposal address better the topic. Now, coming back to the specific questions, I think one of the potential ideas that we have for the future, as I mentioned, energy-intensive industry, so large utilizers of energy in the grid. And we see that in a future renewable-based energy system, certainly, these heavy utilizers of energy could play an active role, for example, in balancing the system, so in demand-supply response, as of course they are heavy users. So for example, the idea could be to have systems where we can schedule the industrial operation based on the amount of available renewable energy into the system. So when there is more requirement, for example, for civil use, the industries would use less. When there is less requirement, industry could use more. So that would be basically the idea. And I think the link could be developed, of course, depending on the concept and on the specific proposal, to the extent which the proposers found appropriate, but of course certainly considering how potentially this heavy energy utilizer could play a role in enabling the energy transition will be important. And I think certainly this is one of the aspects which this topic touches on, along with of course the stronger flexibility into industrial processes.
Thanks, Dominic. I take then still one question on 21, but I see a few questions on manufacturing are popping up, which I take. But I think those who would like to ask questions, please do it now, because I'm a bit tempted to see that apparently our call texts are pretty straightforward, and we have not more questions. We can actually close the session, let me say, around 3 p.m. Don't be shocked, but please, it's a moment to ask questions now. Then we have the time and we are available. So the next question on 21, still for you, Carmen. Shall all the demonstrators include energy actors to showcase the interconnectivity with the energy grid?
I believe this will depend specifically on what the proposals found appropriate, also to give credibility to their proposals. I don't think this is, I would say, if you pass me a term, compulsory in the proposals. And of course, you could potentially demonstrate that the concept you are proposing could, showcase a strong interconnection and integration of this specific industrial process you are targeting, or the specific industrial sector within the energy system. And there can be various ways. Of course, one of these ways could be to include energy companies or organizations which are part that deal with the management of the energy system. But in that sense, I don't think this is necessarily the only way of showcasing this. Of course, as I feel these aspects is probably one of the important aspects coming from the proposal text, and I always invite everyone to look very, very closely at the proposal text, because of course this remains the text based on which the panel will assess all the proposals. But certainly I believe there are several ways. But if it is believed that to give more confidence and to give more consistency to the fact that your demonstrator can be integrated in the energy grid and you need this kind of partner, I would say that this certainly can be a good way to do that, but not the only one.
Thank you, Carmen. Very clear. Let me go back now to manufacturing, because here in the chat we have a few further questions coming up, and I take them one by one. I think the first concerns again laser-based technologies. How could we access the latest form of the photonics and Made in Europe partnerships KPI for this action call? Julia.
Yeah.
Maybe if you want to add as well.
Yes, so the latest KPIs are in the memorandum of understanding of these two partnerships. So once the memorandum of understanding is fully signed, it should happen in these few days. Actually, it'll be publicly online, and these KPIs are in the appendix of the memorandum of understanding.
Okay, same for photonics, but what counts is the text in the topic. Okay, then there's a question, there's 3 questions as regards the topic on AI for sustainable agile manufacturing. That's for you, Eve. One is, what is considered by external internal influences? In the third point, under the expected outcomes, so very specific. Let me start with this one maybe.
Yes, hi again, thank you. This one is external influence and internal influences. This is related to the type of shocks which could disturb the way a manufacturing process is being set up, and therefore here the idea is to build resiliency for this. An external shock could be one which is related to a shock of demand or of supply, as we have seen during the COVID crisis. An internal one could be, for example, that or internal influence could be that simply you replace one machine by another, and therefore, although the machine does not really behave fully 100% the same as the previous one, it doesn't require you to completely update your full production line execution system. That's really the kind of influence that we are talking about.
Okay. Then the next question for the same topic. This is a contribution to standardization is mentioned in that topic. Are there any specific fields of standardization required? Which ones?
Yes. Yes, thank you. So what we have here in terms of standardization, that could be standardization which is related to artificial intelligence, which is related to data and data semantics, or as well to Internet of Things, or even the consideration for digital twins. So there are a number of standards which currently exist, which have to be taken into account when designing the proposal, and whenever relevant, to introduce also standardization contribution. You know, manufacturing is global, so these are typically the kind of global standards that we are aiming at. ISO IEC type of standardization committee. And here I could even think of the one of the Joint Technical Committee 1 on IoT and digital twin, for example.
Okay, thank you, Yves. There's another question still related to this topic, and this concerns interoperability for data sharing. Does this relate to stakeholders or to sensors?
It's actually relating to both of them. Once you see that you need to share data, it could either be kind of M2M communication in the sense of machine-to-machine communication, in the sense of you extract data from the sensor which are on a machine, and you need to interpret which kind of data this is, and that's the data that you need to share. That would be typically the kind of data that you would need for predictive maintenance. And if you want to have a third party doing the optimization for you as a manufacturer, then you would have to have a way to transfer that data and their meaning to this third party. But it also means along the supply chain, how you share the various data which is related to the production, be it the bill of material, be it the invoicing, being the inventory level, and so on, so that you can have a much more flexible supply chain, much more agile. And this is also that kind of data that you want to exchange. So interoperability of data sharing is actually could apply to both, and it's up to the applicant to define specifically the use cases where they would want to innovate.
Thank you, Yves. There's one question for you, Julia. I'll stay with manufacturing. This concerns bio-based materials. Should we focus more than one material or in different chains? And then there's a question on the topic 20, which concerns circularity and extractive and processing value chains. Maybe I will go to Nicolas and Carmina on this. But if you can take this question on manufacturing bio-based materials, thank you.
So you're up to focus on how many materials, bio-based material, you like to focus on. However, it is explicitly mentioned that we like to have a demonstration on different value chains, so up to 3. So here we'd like to see different sectors, and you're free to actually focus on one material and then see how these different manufacturing techniques for this bio-based material can be applied to different sectors, or you can focus on different materials as well.
Okay, good. Then there is a question actually related to a topic which we have not yet mentioned. This concerns number 20, reducing environmental footprint, improving circularity in extractive and processing value chains. So we don't have Daniel Chios with us. I don't know. Nicholas, can you take the question about transport sector?
Yes, I think I can. As Jürgen said, we don't have the experts. And incidentally, in this context, let me point out that this is the one topic in Destination 1 that does use Article 22. I said earlier, no topics use it. This is a raw materials topic. Most of the raw material topics are in Destination 2. But this one does use Article 22. I mentioned this in passing, but not to exclude associated countries. Now, as to the question, this is primarily about the extractive industries and their link to the process industries. It's not a processes for planet topic. So the transport sector could play a role in this, but my guess is that it would not play a major role. And I don't think something that focuses on the transport sector would truly cover the scope of this topic. Of course, it could be about materials that are of use to the transport sector and be related both to their extraction and their processing. So in that sense, yes, but the concept, the transport sector as such, and on its own, I think would not be able to fulfill the needs of this topic.
Okay, Carmine, you wanted to add?
Yeah, personally, I'm fully in line with what Nicolas said, and I think also by looking at the outcomes and the tasks, there are clear reference to improving efficiency and reducing the environmental footprint in the processing of these extracted material and in these extractive value chains. Therefore, of course, as Nicolas said, logistics can probably play a role in decreasing the overall footprint of this value chain, but it's probably not the main focus of this topic, and therefore I believe it should not be the main focus of the proposals as such.
Okay. I go now through the questions one by one. There's still one on manufacturing. This is actually the topic number 5. Bio-based materials. Julia, thanks for being with us. Here, this concerns a question about creation of skilled workforce. Can this be realized at the partner side, or would one need a special partner for this?
Indeed, this can be realized at the partner sites, specifically because we are interested in how to develop new skilled workforce in these new technologies for bio-based materials. Therefore, you have to apply this skilled workforce in specifically the manufacturing sectors that your proposal is going to tackle.
Thank you, Julia. There's then still another question popping up on the topic 21, design and optimization of energy flexible industrial processes. I think it would be maybe nice, Carmen, if you could help. We take it not all. There are even more coming. It is not clear if waste to energy is included.
Thank you, Jürgen. Yes, I believe this can potentially be included, but maybe something which is worth saying for this specific topic is that we look at the design and optimization of flexible industrial processes. So it is not because you are making energy from waste that you automatically fulfill the outcomes. The idea is that you would benchmark your waste to energy process against existing benchmark, which can be the existing way of making energy from waste, and you would have to prove that you can provide an enhanced flexibility in the process, and that you can integrate this process better in the energy system compared to what is done so far. So in that sense, I think it is certainly something which it is in line with the content of the topic, but as said, it has to also be looked at more from the enhancing the flexibility and the energy efficiency in this specific process that one could tackle in the proposal.
Thank you, Carmen. A related question which already came in other questions, same topic. Is it mandatory to include energy distributors?
As I mentioned before, I don't think it is. I think it would be very, very important to include in the proposals argument and to substantiate that the concept you are proposing can allow an enhanced flexibility in the process you are tackling, and also allowing this process to be better integrated in the energy system. This can be done in many ways. As I mentioned, certainly one way could be to include directly in the consortium energy distributors, but I think there are also other ways. So in that sense, I don't think this is mandatory, and it remains up to the applicants to decide the way in which they want to substantiate the fact that they will fulfill these expected outcomes.
Thanks a lot, Carmine. Then there is a more generic question about the term INCO. Nicholas, can you take this?
Yes, I will try. So the INCO, no, it's not a formal acronym. INCO just stands for, short for International Cooperation. Now, if you look, there is a general annex in the work program, not only the work program of Cluster 4, a general annex. And also there is a Horizon document where you will find a guide where you will find information on that. So there are no INCO countries. I mean, in the sense that you have, for example, Mercosur countries and so on, or ASEAN countries and so on and so forth. It's just short for international cooperation. And we have explained already that in general, all countries are eligible to participate with or without funding from the Union, depending on their income. That is all there is to say in this context. And there are also topics that use Article 22.5, which can limit the topic to particular countries, third countries.
Okay, I'm looking now here into the chat box. I note we are not receiving more questions so far. Thanks for the confirmation. Okay, but then I suggest we will actually conclude the session now. Before doing so, maybe it would be good, Nicholas, could you explain a bit about the system of national contact points? We have also a training session with them on the 8th and 19th of July. So if people have still questions to the call, that's also can turn to the national contact points, but also to us. National contact points, could you say a little bit more about this? What it means now under this call? Nicholas.
Yes, I will do that, Jürgen. So there are national contact points in Horizon Europe, as in Horizon 2020 before. As you know, Cluster 4 is a successor of at least 3 different programs of Horizon 2020. And for the time being, there's still 3 networks of national contact points. However, we treat them as one. So, however, they specialize in the areas of digital industry and space. They will have projects to support them. And as Jürgen said, we have a training event just for them. And they are, if you like, information multipliers. They receive questions from potential participants and bring them to us. They know who is the expert on each topic. So they know whom to turn to for each question they receive. And of course, they're also aware of the national circumstances. So it is very useful both from the logistic point of view and from the content point of view to turn to your national contact point for information, not only because it's more efficient, but because they can put the information they give you in the right national or even local context. Also, they tend to be familiar with the other programs.
Okay,
the other union programs.
Yeah, there's one question on the steel industry, which I can take. There's another question related to the NCPs, if you can take it. Nicholas, all NCPs are not yet officially nominated by the Commission. Can they participate on the 8th and 9th of July?
Yes, we sent the invitation to the NCPs that are nominated. Now, I don't have the answer to that one. because the NCPs are not a formal committee. I will need to find out if you could tell us whom you have in mind. Privately, we will find out about that. But we have extended the invitation to all the nominated NCPs for Cluster 4.
Okay, good. There's one question which I can easily answer. Are topics implementing the process for Planet Partnership open to the steel industry too? Yes, but you have to look into the topic text and the expected outcome and to the scope, whether it fits. But I think all partnership topics are not reserved to members of this co-program partnerships. They're open to all. On the contrary, actually, open participation is encouraged. Okay, I'm looking there. If there is nothing else in the pipeline, then I suggest we close now. So I think the information channels are open. Let me recap that the call deadline is the 23rd of September. And there, so we are looking forward to receiving as many proposals as excellent and as possible. And I think then I'll thank all those who are still here with me. And I think then I will close this breakout session here, since there are no further questions. And many thanks to all of you and for your active participation. And also to Ulrich, are there 2 new messages? You see, no more questions. Okay, good.
No more questions.
Many thanks to all and enjoy the afternoon. And we stand ready also for future discussions, if not today. Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.